In a world where literally anyone can host a podcast, two stoners come together to unite their marijuana and movie knowledge to bring you the latest movie review, as long as they remember to press record. Welcome to the Blunt Movie Reviews.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Travis Aerosmith, and joining me in the Blunt Dome is my co-host,
Jesse Pena. Before we get started, we would like to thank everyone for all your continued support. All the likes, all the shares, all the subscription, every little bit helps.
And if this is your first time joining us on the Blunt Movie Reviews, we want to let you know we're blunt. We're going to be blunt about our opinions. We're going to be blunt about the movies. We try real hard not to give any spoilers away, but sometimes, it just happens with a shitty movie.
Absolutely. We don't give out free good reviews. Everything is under review.
We don't believe that everything Hollywood touches is a masterpiece. We're not one of those reviewers that are going to sit here and jerk you off the whole time. So hopefully one Hollywood executive will hear us and say, hey, I like this jerk off. That's not us. So we got that out of the way. How about we get this going? This week we want to thank Universal Pictures for giving us the opportunity to see this movie before it came out nationwide on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2019.
And that movie is Happy Death Day to You. Travis, hit me with the movie guy plot.
In a world where a young sorority girl must repeatedly relive the day she's brutally murdered until she stops her killer and ends this Groundhog Day of horror, only to discover that dying over and over was surprisingly easier than the complex source code of a story that lies just at the edge of tomorrow, complicatingly making its way to a theater near you. Hi, and welcome to the Blunt Movie Reviews. We were all set to kick it off with this movie's top cast, starting all the way on top with the director.
The director of this week's film is Christopher Landon, who I haven't seen many of the movies he has done, but he wrote the second, third, and fourth Paranormal Activity, which I saw the second and the third. But besides that, I haven't seen much from him. Have you?
Yeah, nothing that he's directed. I mean, I saw the first Happy Death Day, which he also directed, also co-wrote, but that's about it. And I don't know, I don't got a lot of good things to say about it off the top of my head. So.
He also wrote the movie with Shia LaBeouf, Disturbia.
2003?
Something like that. And where he was under house arrest for being a bad boy, and he ended up spying.
So disturbing how you say that, bad boy.
And he...
It starts watching his neighbors,
yeah,
like the old
creepy.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, and then luckily for him, a pretty blonde girl moves next door that he can spy on for a little bit longer. It was a decent flick. I liked it for the time.
Yeah, it wasn't bad when it first came out. I mean, we were just kind of really getting Shia LaBeouf out of the Disney Channel.
He was really
hitting
that wave of how famous he was getting.
Became a piece of shit and lost his career pretty much, doing shitty movies here and there.
All right, let's move on to the actors and actresses in this movie. Jessica Rothe, who I have not seen much. I think is going to be a recurring theme in this review. I haven't seen much she's been in except for 2016 La La Land. She was one of Emma Stone's friends in the movie, very, very bit part. And besides that, I haven't seen anything besides this movie.
No, once again, I got Happy Death Day, the first movie.
Okay. Did you like Happy Death Day, the first one?
It was okay. It wasn't great. I mean, the acting was bad. I like the idea that they had with the story, but it wasn't very gory, so it's hard to place in a horror movie.
Everything's PG-13 nowadays.
It's more of a suspense than anything, and it's listed as a horror, comedy, thriller, mystery, and no, not really.
None of those things. None of them well. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, up next we have Israel Broussard, who... I have only seen one movie he's been in. It's a Netflix original, 2018's Extinction.
Oh, with your cousin, Michael Pena.
Yes, with my cousin, Michael Pena. We're not related. And Lizzie Kaplan. It's about Michael Pena's character. He goes to work every day, but he's been getting these dreams for months about, like, people dying, and he doesn't know what it is. It's actually alienating him from his family because of these dreams, because it's really distracting him. And it turns out that there's an alien invasion, and like only a few, however many people got hit with these visions of what was going to happen, but it was the apocalypse. And so the rest of the movie is spent him trying to save his family from this alien apocalypse. It's a decent flick. You should actually watch it if you haven't seen it.
Actually, I've tried to watch it a couple of times, and I get like 2 minutes in and something comes up. I have to go, and when I come back, it doesn't happen again.
That's Netflix, dude.
So, yeah, that's Netflix, exactly. The great thing about it, you can pause it and come back to it later on. The only thing I have for Israel is Happy Death Day 1. So,
did you like Happy Death Day 1?
I just feel like I can clip and just paste right here again.
Up next we have Five-Vu. I got nothing. If you don't say something,
the only thing I got for him, and he was only in it for a small scene. I don't even think he had a character name.
Okay.
It was Fist Fight with Ice Cube and Charlie Day. Charlie Day and Ice Cube are both teachers, and Charlie Day gets Ice Cube fired. So Ice Cube says at the end of the day, we're fighting in the parking lot. And the whole movie's about Charlie Day freaking out about the whole thing. But that's all I got.
My biggest reach is he was in the Logan movie, the Wolverine movie. He was like one of the college kids in the limo that were screaming, USA, USA. Yeah.
Another person that was in this movie was Ruby Modine, which she was also in the first Happy Death Day movie. But I would like to mention Shameless, a TV show on Showtime starring William H. Macy that is pretty much just about a fucked up family called the Gallaghers. And she ends up dating one of the Gallagher boys in season 7 and 8. But, I mean, it's a good show, especially if you like William H. Macy and you get wrapped up in the drama of the show. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I tried to stop watching it a while ago, but...
You just keep coming back to it.
Yeah, it's like a default show, so... Well, I guess we're finishing up with the actors and directors. We get to move on to one of my favorite parts of the show. That's when we get to sit down, pack our Glass Twisty Blunt full, and smoke a bowl. This week we're I don't even know what we're smoking this week. I lost the label. But it is green, clean, and...
Keefy as shit.
Keefy.
Like there's one mystery solved. Now how about we hit that blunt? Review.
So lately, Jesse, we've been talking to a lot of people about movies like we normally do, but lately I've noticed an ongoing trend. We'll talk to people that will go and watch the second movie before the first. Mm-hmm. And so this week, that's what we did. I watched the first movie, and then we watched the second movie together, and you went in without any clue about the first movie except for a mild description of a horror Groundhog Day.
I really don't even remember it being in theaters, mostly. Besides the baby face mask part. That's the only part I really remember.
I do remember it coming out because it came out on October, Friday the 13th.
Okay.
So, Jesse, since you had no knowledge of the first movie, you didn't watch any of it, how do you feel about the second movie? Can you go to it not watching the first movie?
Oh, well, if the second movie is anything like the first movie, I don't think you should see either one of them. This movie was a mess with overacting, with bad acting, just silly montages in the middle of it with just weird music, and it just none of it resonated with me like whatsoever. Everyone just came off as cheesy and cornball, which I think is what they were going for. But I couldn't tell. Maybe it was because I hadn't seen the first movie, but it all just seems so silly and I don't know. I just didn't seem well put together. There was they had a MacGuffin in the movie that created multiple timelines, and it just like I thought that's what the first movie was about. But then you're like, no, it wasn't anything like that. But it seems like that would cause more questions than answers.
Well, anyone that's seen the first movie, it was a lot like a Groundhog Day horror movie. I mean, she woke up every day in the same loop, getting murdered, and she had to figure out how to stop it. Now, since I did see the second movie, or the first movie, the second movie did make a little more sense, especially with, I mean, the attitudes that the actors were portraying. It's because, well, Jessica Rothe has already lived through the day multiple times, which, I mean, you said it, the acting wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. In the first movie, it was even worse. But over the past 2 years that from her making the first one and the second one, her acting has improved. In fact, there's a scene in this one that she is dealing with a family member, and it's a hard decision, and she's very emotional over it. And
It was a pretty good scene.
Yeah, and she did get it across that it was an emotional scene, and I mean, she was believable for that.
I think they both were, and that was probably the one scene in the movie that I absolutely felt engaged with.
But I do feel if you have not seen this first movie, the second movie will confuse you, because the second movie picks up directly where the first movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it has a lot to do with the first movie. But you're right. I mean, when we were leaving the movie theater, we were next to a couple that the man said to the woman, "You know, I'm glad they put out this second movie. It makes so much more sense for the first movie." And no, it doesn't. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
the first movie was a horror mystery comedy. This didn't have a lot of horror in it. It was more of a mystery sci-fi comedy, and
Yeah.
it seemed like two different movies that were connected at the hip.
Yeah, there was no like romance in it or nothing. It was very weird.
It was oddly assembled. They left a lot of plot holes. There's still strings that
Well, at
weren't
first I thought the
attached.
first movie was about the Asian kid because he kept waking up in the morning, and I was just like, "What the fuck's going on here?" And it just really threw me off. Like it seems like it would add up just so many more questions to what you weren't asking, but now you have those questions, and you didn't want those questions to begin with.
Yeah, it created questions that weren't there to begin with. That's exactly what it did.
I really like the friends of the roommate, Faivu. Yes, Suraj Sharma. He was in Life of Pi. He did a really good job as a lovable college kid who was just trying to get a good grade. Sarah Yarkin. She played a cute little college girl who seemed really smart. You know what I mean? Like they seemed like their part. I really like that.
I think they did I think they've had more acting chops than the rest of the cast.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I didn't have a problem with the camera angles, which is one thing that bugs me about most movies is camera angles. There's too many unnecessarily. I don't think this movie was too long. I think it was just right.
Yeah.
They could have cut an easy 5 minutes out of it. There was a couple pointless scenes that didn't add to the storyline, and if they weren't in there, it went to taken away from the storyline.
Yeah. Well, I could see that. So, Travis, what would you say to people on where and when to watch this movie? Should you watch it on opening day? Should you wait till it's on Netflix? Or you should just kind of let it pass you by?
Well, I think if you saw the first movie and you liked the first movie, go see it in theaters. You might like it. I mean, it kind of has the same feel to it, but not. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you like the first one, then I think you're going to like this one. If you didn't, like I did not, I would skip it altogether.
Well, I am of the opinion that you could probably pass this movie up. If you really want to go see a movie in the box office, Isn't It Romantic looked a lot funnier.
With Rebel Wilson, yes.
With Rebel Wilson. So I'd say maybe see that if you're in the mood for that kind of romancy kind of movie.
You want some action? There's Alita. We also have, last week we put out our podcast, our movie review on Alita. You can find that on iTunes,
that was
YouTube,
a pretty kick-ass
everywhere.
movie.
All right, that's going to bring us towards the end of our show where we like to play one of our favorite games, Reboot Madness. That's where we take a movie from our past and we try to reboot it with a cast that we would like to see not screw it up.
That's right, kiddos. It's time for another edition of Reboot Madness.
This week's movie is 2002's Eight-Legged Freaks, starring David Arquette, Scarlett Johansson, and Carrie Werr. Travis, give me the movie guide plot.
The residents of a rural mining town discover that an unfortunate chemical spill has caused hundreds of little spiders to mutate overnight to the size of SUVs. Now it's up to a mining engineer, Chris McCormick, and Sheriff Parker to mobilize the townspeople and battle against the bloodthirsty eight-legged beasts.
Eight-Legged Freaks stars David Arquette as Chris McCormick, Carrie Werr as Sheriff Samantha Parker, and Scarlett Johansson as Ashley Parker. Travis, who did you choose to play David Arquette's Chris McCormick?
Well, I chose Andy Samberg. You might remember him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Adam Sandler's Third Nut. But I was trying to think of someone that's, in the younger years, because I originally was thinking Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson, one of them. But I decided to go younger and in the comedy world already. So
Okay.
I think he might be a pretty decent fit.
Okay. Playing Sheriff Samantha Parker, Carrie Werer's character.
Well, I decided that I'm going to bring a familiar face back. And since it's been 16 years since the first movie came out, I'm bringing back Scarlett Johansson to play the sheriff.
Okay, that's a very, very, very good pick. That's very good. And to play Scarlett Johansson's character of Ashley Parker.
I chose Chloe Grace Moretz.
Okay, all right. that's
She
not bad.
played Hit Girl in
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass.
Okay, I like that pick. No, I wanted to pick a movie that everyone would like, because I don't think anyone likes the third nut guy, Andy Samberg. I went with Tyler Labine. He is already in the comedy world. He's been in Super Troopers 2. He was in a movie review just a couple weeks ago, Escape Room. He's just really funny, and I think he could play a good, character in the same vein.
I actually like that. I'm a Tyler Labine fan, and yeah, I think that was a pretty good pick. I do like that better than Samberg.
And for Carrie Werer's character, I chose Elizabeth Banks, who you might remember from Zack and Miri Make a Porno, 40-Year-Old Virgin, all the Hunger Games movies. She is already pretty funny. And maybe we don't necessarily need a bombshell like Carrie Werer in this movie, because Carrie Werer was gorgeous. But she is still very pretty and very talented and funny. So she could maybe fit in this role. And to play Scarlett Johansson's character, I chose Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. I was trying
11.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to have a lot going on, so...
No, which I'm surprised, because she seems like a pretty good actress to me.
Absolutely. And, she's already used to being in a movie that's about kind of freaking you out a little bit with creepy crawly things, so...
All right, so who do you think won this week's Reboot Madness? Travis or Jesse? Wherever you listen to this, just go ahead and put that in the comments, Travis or Jesse, or whoever you think would play the parts better. You can find us on Facebook at our page Blunt Movie Reviews. You can also find us on Twitter at TravLetSmoke. And then you can also find a visual version of this episode on YouTube at the Blunt Movie Reviews. I want to thank everyone for listening and hope you guys enjoyed your blunt this week.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right, Bob, that wraps it up. Roll credits. Let's get out of here. Good job, everyone. Good job.